You're listening to the Second Look podcast, where we take a closer look at what we're learning each Sunday at Connection Church to help you grow in your walk with Christ. Here are your hosts, Pastor Joe Terreri and Pastor Dan DeRochers.
Welcome to The Second Look. My name is Dan.
And I'm Joe.
And we're here actually not really coming to you with a second look.
No, this is not a second look at anything.
This is more of a pre-first look at something.
And a recap of maybe where we were last week, Dan.
Yeah, so we did not have a second look last week. We're a little delayed on this one because several of us from the church, there were 11 of us, were in Croatia on a trip to the Europe Together Conference 2025 in the beautiful city of Šibenik, Croatia.
Yes, and it was my first time in Europe, and I was honored.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, Dan. I have been to these international places. I will list them. It'll take only a moment. Canada, Nepal, Bhutan, London briefly for a layover.
In the airport.
And Croatia.
Wow.
That is my list of international travel.
Well, that's amazing.
Yes, and so we were there, and for those of you who don't know, Europe Together is a gathering of all the missionaries from the Assemblies of God who serve in the Europe region, and so it was their conference. And so, Dan, why don't you talk a little bit about what our missions team did?
Yeah, so we brought, there were 10 people on the team. We had 3 of us who
We brought 11. 10 were on the team, and the person who wasn't on the team was me.
It's sitting across the table from me.
I was more like an appendage to the trip. But anyway, go ahead, Dan.
So 3 of us did production. So I've been helping out at this conference. I attended for the first time in 2016. Piper, our middle daughter, was actually dedicated at that conference in 2016. And then I helped to produce the conference in 1922 and now 25. And then Tim Gruber and Caleb Eisenhower came and helped to do some production, just helping to make the services go and develop some graphics and then have some event coverage to record some of the things in the workshops and the main sessions. And then we had a team of 7 ladies who just did an unbelievable job.
Yes, they did.
Caring pastorally for missionaries and hosting them. They put on a ladies' tea for all the wives and daughters and all the ladies that were there as well. And they just did an incredible job setting the tone, covering every one of the sessions in prayer, and also just creating a platform that missionaries could just receive.
Yeah, and it was an absolutely wonderful event, and I would just say it was another moment for me as a pastor where I was just so grateful and proud in a good way, not like pride like the evil kind, but just proud of our church family, proud of the people representing Jesus Christ from Connection Church. Just served with excellence, both production and hospitality wise. And and I actually had a couple other missionaries approach me and tell me about teams that we've sent to their areas in the past and how good those teams were. And so I just I'm so grateful for people who choose to go on trips and take weeks off from work and raise funds. And for everyone who's listening, I just want to strongly encourage you. This year at Connection Church, we had about 7 trips available. Next year, we'll have more. But at some point in your life, I think it's important, and I've never said this publicly, but after being there, I just want to say this clearly. I think for every follower of Jesus, I think at some point in your life, it is good to get in a cross-cultural situation and serve Jesus on some kind of trip. And we need to be aware that trips are not for us. They're to serve Christ and his kingdom and the people who are on the ground there. But I just want to encourage people, like, this trip for me, it was transformative for me personally, and I just want to encourage everyone should get out and take a week and go on a trip somewhere with Connection Church at some point in the future.
The theme of the conference was planted in faith, and kind of this statement: you never know what God can do with a single blank planted in faith.
Right, and so that single blank could be like a single prayer, a single dream, a single church plant, a single conversation. So there were lots of, but the theme of the conference was challenging everyone to take a step of faith. And, really nothing gets done in the Christian life, and the kingdom of God does not move forward without faith, Dan.
That's true. And as we're thinking about world mission, God invites us to be part of his mission. And it's really a core piece of what Connection Church is all about. Actually, even at the conference, I was thinking about, on our very first Sunday 20 years ago, we gave to missions. That was what we did in September of 2005.
Yeah, and we've talked that our 20-year anniversary is coming up in September, and missions has always been part of what we're doing, and it's always been kind of core to our identity, but kind of because this isn't the second look at the sermon on Sunday, which, by the way, if you did not hear it, run and listen to the message from Tim Deering about asking, seeking, and knocking. It was outstanding, and I was so grateful to Tim. And so please, if you did not hear the message, go and listen to it. It's about prayer and about the Father's heart for us when we pray. And if you do not walk away encouraged and inspired, just check your pulse, because it was such a good message. So but what we're saying, just to my point, was when you're saying that mission is core to the identity of our church, we really just want to take this opportunity to say things are shifting at Connection Church, and we want to move more intentionally into becoming the kind of church that exists to bless the nations. That is not only something we do, it's a core piece of who we are, what we do. And that doesn't mean that we don't care about Pottstown anymore and we don't care about reaching our neighbors. In fact, this goes even deeper into that. And so I just, my heart is so full, and I am so full of expectation and excitement for what God could do through Connection Church in the years ahead.
Some people may remember in June of 2021, we launched something that we called the Gospel Partnership Initiative.
Yes.
And this was a goal that God really birthed in your heart to give away $1 million
in 5 years
to missions in 5 years.
Yep.
And others may have been there for that, and some may remember earlier in the fall where we kind of announced we didn't even realize that it had happened.
Yep.
But not 5 years later, but 40 months later, we kind of accidentally slayed the goal.
Yeah. Well, and the Lord has just put so many opportunities in front of us, and one of the things that kind of took me off guard is, as our church has been growing, there's more resources. And of course, when the church is growing, you need more staff and obviously our operational costs. But we really do believe, and one thing that God spoke to me so clearly is, I had several moments with the Lord. It was a pretty rich spiritual time in my life. But one of the things that the Lord spoke to me, and I just want to share is, and I'll share this a lot over the next few weeks, is God is not blessing Connection Church because growth is a end in of itself. Like, God is blessing us with both new converts and new families and resources because he is calling us to be a blessing. And we need to lean hard into being a church that really wants to bless and serve outside the four walls of our church. And we also want to be a place where lots of people are meeting Jesus. But growth in the church, like, the goal isn't to grow. The goal is disciple making. And so we want as many disciples of Jesus Christ who are passionate about the mission of God in the world at Connection Church. And we want to be people who are willing to say yes to the call of God in our life. And we want to be people who are willing to say yes as God invites us to participate in sending people to the nations. We want to say yes in giving resources to fund projects across the world so that people around the globe can meet Jesus Christ. And so I just think God's getting ready to do something new. And I would say the seeds are there. I mean, we gave $1 million away to missions in the last, it took us 40 months. But the number God's really put in my heart, and I don't think we're going to do it this year. Who knows what God will do, so I don't want to limit the Lord. Lord, I'm not trying to limit you. But I really think that we have capacity as a church to be giving $1 million a year away to the cause of Christ, both locally and abroad.
What does that mean in terms of individual discipleship to participate in that? And then also, what does it mean for the church to be involved in, like, what does that look like to give away $1 million a year?
Yeah. So what we're announcing to the church this weekend is we're launching a brand new initiative called Kingdom Builders, and we're making a pretty radical shift. And I can just kind of explain that. And I'm going to be explaining this a lot. So if you don't catch it all now, I'll get
plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of opportunities. And we really, by the end of June, we want you to be saying to yourself, I get it, Kingdom Builders. Like, I actually want those of you who are great at paying attention to be like, Joe, you said the same thing 8 times. That's good, because this is something we want to get into the water of Connection Church. So we are going to be using Kingdom Builders. It's a new initiative, and so this is going to go to fund. And we're going to have all the projects we're going to be doing this year. You, Dan, and your team have been doing an awesome job gathering projects, and we're going to have a tangible booklet for people to look through what we're going to be giving to this year. But our goal this year is to raise $300,000 just for local and global projects that advance the kingdom of God. So these are Pottstown projects, these are international projects, and so Kingdom Builders funds are all about helping local and global projects. But we're also making a radical shift in our missionary support. So this isn't going to happen right away, but here's what we're moving towards. We're moving towards, in our general budget, giving tithing on the tithes that come in. So 10%, $1 of every $10 that comes into Connection Church is going to go towards supporting missionaries. So right now, about 5% of our tithe goes to supporting missionaries. And then, of course, there's a few families in the church who, quote unquote, give to missions, the Gospel Partnership Initiative. But we're taking a bold step of faith, and we're saying we are going to tithe as a church on all the tithes, and that tithe is going to cover our missionary support.
So does that mean if someone's tithing,
Yep,
they're already supporting missions?
Yes. So our family tithes, your family tithes. So what the Terreri family tithes, and we also give to missions, that 10% of our tithe to Connection Church is going to be used by Connection Church to support missionaries. And Dan, you know these numbers better than I do. How many missionaries do we support right now?
It's about 40 missionaries.
Okay. And then how many more missionaries do we need to pick up to support in order to get to the place? Like, if we were able to give 10% of everything that comes in away to support missionaries, how many more missionaries could we pick up?
Today, we could pick up 49 more missionaries.
Okay. So we're more than doubling our mission support.
Yes.
So I think what I really want people to hear is we're about to put our operational funds where our mouth is, because we really believe that we need to step boldly into the cause of Christ around the world. And so this isn't about fundraising. And I just want people to know that.
I hope that's clear.
Yeah. This is about the gospel. And I think what's awesome about this is, like, there is nothing, there's no personal benefit. Like this
isn't a ploy. Or
no.
we're trying to, the only thing we're actually trying to do, and I really do hope this is clear, the only thing we are trying to do is advance the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
This isn't a technique
Right.
to do anything. You're going to hear about things. We're going from the 7 funds that we have listed that you can give to 2.
Right. And that's something that's really important. From this point forward, there's only going to be 2 funds at Connection Church you can give to. Tithe, which, here's what we're asking. We're asking everyone who calls Connection Church home to tithe.
Which is what?
10% of your income. And so I always like to say this. I've been tithing since I had a paper route. So I know that if you came to Christ when you were 43 and you were, let's just say.
And someone, a 6'8" guy on a stage.
A 6'8" guy who seems pretty passionate about everything, just starts telling you that God wants you to give 10% of your money to the church. That's a big step.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Dan, I mean, I feel like I'm not being a good pastor if I don't clearly say, putting God first in your finances is one of the absolute best decisions you can make. And if you're not doing it, and I just want to acknowledge, it probably feels so scary. It's not scary to me. It's not scary to you, because like this is what we've always done. And I think my point in just saying this is, but if you don't put God first in your finances, like you're missing out from the adventure that comes with walking with Jesus in this area of your life. And we know that Martin Luther said the last part of a man's life to be converted is his wallet. Yeah. And so we're asking everyone to tithe. So listen, this is going to be really clear for the rest of church history for Connection Church. We're going to ask everyone to give to two places. We want everyone to tithe, and then
every dollar beyond the tithe.
And every dollar beyond the tithe that you feel called to give. And so, we have an amount we give every month. You have an amount you give every month. I know many people do this. It's going to go to kingdom builders. And so some of you who and this is a really important question. I can see some people might be asking, well, what about benevolence? Great news. Part of kingdom builders, a percentage of all kingdom builders funds is going to go towards benevolence, because kingdom builders is not going to be like, we don't care about our own people anymore.
Right.
Like, it's really important to hear we care about our Jerusalem, our Judea, our Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. And that's from Acts 1:8. And so we really care about Pottstown. We care about the state of Pennsylvania. We care about the United States, and we care about the nations. And we care about the people inside of Connection Church. And here's what I'm really excited about. The Kingdom Builders Initiative we're launching, it is going to be a way that Connection Church can be so generous. And so people aren't going to give to missions anymore in the traditional way. We're going to be supporting all our missionaries out of the tithe. And so, we have to look at our budget and we have to make some, adjustments, but we think it's worth it.
Yeah. Well, and I actually had the opportunity to present a workshop at the conference, and it was about staying connected with supporters and building relationships. And I was able to present a little bit about Kingdom Builders. This isn't unique to us.
Right. We didn't come up with this.
Correct. So we're adopting a methodology to do this. And I was able to tell them, here's the great thing. Church growth equals missions growth.
Yeah.
So as the church grows and as generosity grows, our ability to support missionary personnel grows.
Yep.
And I also encourage them, always have a project.
Yep.
You don't want to get a call from a church like Connection Church who asks, hey, what do you have going on that we can support? And be like, nothing.
Yeah.
You don't want that. I asked some of our missionaries that are in Palau, the island nation of Palau, reached out to them.
What are their names?
Nick and Marilyn Craig.
Yes, I know Nick and Marilyn.
And,
awesome people.
They are incredible people. And I asked them, hey, what do you have going on? This was a couple months ago when we were developing the book. And what do you have going on? How can we come alongside of you? And they said, well, we just were asked by the Palau National Olympic Committee. They're putting on the Pacific Mini Games, where 3,000 athletes from around Micronesia are coming in to compete in these mini Olympic Games. And Nick and Marilyn's church was given the opportunity to serve and do an outreach at the opening ceremonies.
Wow.
Handing out water bottles. They've got a team coming from Evangel University. This wasn't something that was on their radar when they were working on their budget. And so I was like, hey, well, tell me what it costs. And 3 days ago, they received the check that we sent to fund the entire opening ceremonies outreach.
I didn't even know we did that.
Yeah, we did.
That's awesome.
It's in the book. We're going to talk about it when it happens in July. We're going to present it to the church. But super exciting. So you got an inside scoop.
Yeah. And I just want to say to everyone listening, we have experienced awesome generosity at our church.
Yeah.
So when I think about the capacity of Connection Church, and this is something that my friend Tim Deering, who preached on Sunday, we had this conversation, and he said to me, he goes, Tim knows a lot about Pottstown, and he said, one of the things about Pottstown is there's kind of been this narrative in Pottstown, Pottstown's kind of the butt of the joke in our area. It's kind of, it's easy to feel like a victim, and it's easy to feel like we're kind of getting the raw end of the deal. And I know that a lot of that's in the borough, and I know not all of us feel that way. I just want to be so clear about that. But Pottstown is not the place that people think of right away when they think, where is a beacon of gospel generosity?
Yeah.
And where is the capacity for gospel generosity in Chester County. You know what? I don't think a lot of people are thinking, yeah, North Coventry. And
true.
I just want to say, like, I think God is building his church. And we want to say, we're not the only thing God's doing. We are not the only thing God is doing. But we're a slice of what God is doing. God is building his church in Pottstown. Not just so that we can say, wow, isn't this cool? We're a big growing church with over 1,000 people. Like, there's no prizes for that.
Yeah.
But what God is doing is, as we hear in the video every Sunday, is we're a people who belong to Christ. And because we belong to Christ, we are his hands and his feet. And God is building a beacon of generosity in this area called Connection Church, where we want to be people who don't think about how hard it is for us or getting a raw end of the deal. No, we want to be the kind of people who are saying, God, what could you do through a group of people whose hearts are fully surrendered to you? And, I know there's probably people listening and there's probably going to be people over the next few weeks as we talk about this. People are going to be like, well, why should I care?
Right.
Like, why should I care about what's happening in Micronesia? And so I just want everyone to know I'm going to be making the case over the next 3 weeks why we should care. And I really hope people hear it in my voice and they hear it in my heart that I'm just so excited about what God's going to do. And listen, I think it's going to take time. I don't think it's going to be like, boom, everything's awesome. This is a journey we're going on as a church, but I'll just share this, and this is just maybe not as pure-hearted, but it's how I think, and you guys know I try to be as real as I can. For our denomination in the Pendle district, so we're part of the Assemblies of God. We don't champion being part of the Assemblies of God, but this is kind of our denominational family, and we want everyone to know who comes to Connection Church, like, you don't have to love the Assemblies of God to come to our church. You have to love Jesus. We are about Jesus Christ. But we appreciate our denomination. And in our denomination, in the Pennsylvania-Delaware district, which we reside, there's about 380, 350 churches. And out of those 350 churches, Connection Church, we were the 7th highest missions-giving church in 2024. And, I mean, that's amazing. Like, we are in the top.
We didn't really know.
And we're not trying to be like the best. But now we're trying to be the best. And here's the thing, and I have biblical precedent for this. When the Apostle Paul is trying to encourage the Corinthian church to give, he's telling them, as part of the thing, how other churches in the region, because Paul was trying to raise money for the poor church in Jerusalem. He tells the Corinthian church what the church in Macedonia did to support the church in Jerusalem, and he's kind of stoking the fires of competitiveness. And so those who know me and who's ever played a game with me before, I have the spiritual gift of competitiveness, or it could be an act of the flesh, probably that. But I just want us to be the kind of church that is leading the way in giving. And listen, the biggest giving missions church in our district is GT up in Reading, and they give like $3 million a year away to missions. So we have a ways to. They're beating us by a lot,
right?
And they have a great history of missions in their church. And so I am tongue in cheek about the competitive part, but. I mean, when we get to like, you guys know, like if you're listening to this podcast, I think about my life. I'm 43. What do I got? 40, 50 years left if I live till 93, like could be less, could be tomorrow. But like, I'm saying, I have to say, like, we're going to be with Jesus soon. And if the goal of your life is to get all the things and let your life be layers upon layers of luxury and extravagance and great experiences, I'm not anti-vacation. I'm certainly not anti-nice things. Please don't hear that. But someday we're going to be with Jesus. And I'm just thinking, like, we're going to have some time together as Connection Church in God's kingdom. Like, I don't know what that's going to look like, but we're going to be with each other. And the real thing we're going to celebrate is God's faithfulness to us and God's faithfulness through us. We're not going to celebrate that we got to go to an all-inclusive resort. We're not going to celebrate the car we drove or the house we lived in. We're not going to celebrate the clothes we wore. We're going to celebrate the impact we made for Jesus Christ and his kingdom. And so what do you want to do with the next 40, 50 years of your life? Like, what do you want it to be about? And listen, I get confused about these things too. I lose my way. I lose my focus. I can get worldly just as much as anybody else. And I just want to confess that. Like, I see that in myself. And, but I just want to call all of us, including the Terrari family, just to say, let's just spend our lives making it about God's kingdom. And we will never regret that. And someday we'll be hanging out with Jesus. And let's get to celebrate how he allowed us to be a part of what he's doing in the world. So I'm really excited about what God can do, Dan.
Man, I am too, and I hope you sense the excitement. I hope you catch the heart of what God is about to do in and through Connection Church. It's going to be a really special season. Again, not a ploy.
Nope.
Not a capital campaign.
Nope. It's all about people. It's all about people coming to Jesus. It's all it's about.
Well, there's more to come, and this has been another episode of The Second Look. Make sure you catch out the sermon on our website or on the app, and there's much more to come this weekend. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Have a great week.